Welcome to another episode of the Back Catalogue podcast. I'm in the dark here. This is the podcast where we, and by we I mean me, Apple, and my co-host / co-founder Vincent, we dive into the streaming service and we tell you, the listener and the viewer, what is worth it and what is not. And Vincent, we didn't dive into the streaming services today. Well, I guess we did. But we have now done what everyone in the world has done. Literally, pretty much everyone in the world other than us, alive or dead. And we watched Spider-Man No Way Home.
I'll give this movie a 0.
This is 2021's very own Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, just for context, Apple just left me a voicemail on my telephone, and all it was, I'll give this movie a 0. And then he hung up. So,
Well, that's because I thought you'd hung up on me. That's why. But it's because you're on airplane mode.
that's exactly right.
You're on the do not disturb, so it sent me straight to voicemail. Vincent, what we're going to do today is we're just going to do our thoughts here. We're going to get into this movie. We're going to share our thoughts, share the things that we like, share the things that we didn't like, and then we're going to give you an honest review. You know, based on I'm literally, I look like I'm in a movie where I'm telling you half the truth and the other half, I'm keeping secret because I've got devious ends.
It does look a bit like that, but it is what it is.
I'm like Two-Face. Well, I'm a two-faced man, like an individual that's two-faced. Like if someone said to me, hey, look, here's 15 mil, you can continue with the back catalogue, but Vincent can't be in it. Well, I'd be like, well, that's 7.5 for Vincent, that's 7.5 for me. I'm sure he'd be happy for me to continue.
That's right.
But you see, I'm working people on both ends. But that's just me.
That's right. It's because half of you in the shadow and half of you not in the shadow, and that's film. That's film talk. That's what they do.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the curtains blue and whatnot.
Yeah.
And but we'll get into that. I was going to say something. I was going to say something stupid.
No,
you know what? You can give them the statistics while we're here, Vincent. While we're here.
So what I'm looking at here is critics on Rotten Tomatoes 93% for the critic score and 98% for the audience score, which is wild.
That's quite wild for me, Vincent. That is quite wild for me.
That's quite wild. That's what I reckon.
Mm.
Yeah,
like
anyway,
93% for critics.
8.5.
Mm-hmm.
8.5, and on the Wikipedia's, it's got an article here on Wikipedia.
Now the box office / budget is wild.
Yeah, okay. So the budget was 200 mil, and the box office, so far I'm guessing, 1.885 billion. That's wild. That's absolutely
like we're talking
wild.
Bill's so big I call him Williams. Like that's what Marvel and Kevin Feige and Tom Holland. That's what they're saying.
That's insane dollary dues.
If you're doing that many numbers, right? And you're Tom Holland, and obviously you're the star of the show, so you're hoping that you're not getting anywhere close to the amount that was made, but you're hoping you're getting something within the 50s to the hundreds of millions.
Well, that depends what his contract's looking like. If he gets a percentage of the profits
of the box office,
because you're looking 200 mil. You got to consider this is a star-studded cast.
Oh, absolutely! They get everyone in this.
All the heads in here, all the heads.
Yeah,
and under 200 mil. That's plus all the rest of the stuff. You got to feed people on set. I'm assuming catering's a few mil here or there.
I'm assuming you got to do you got to pay for the green screens. You got to go to Spotlight. You got to get a green sheet and you got to put that up. That's money though.
That's absolutely correct. So, anyway, I'm sure they.
Can I tell you something about the box office as well? Now that is obviously still going, and it's wild to say that within South Australia, the region that we live, it's still at the cinemas.
Mm.
There's certain theatres that are still showing this movie.
Because they're still making money from it.
Then because they're getting numbers from this.
They got
It's
numbers.
like if you went to our Yumbo video and you saw the numbers that we got on that, double that, you know, and you won't even get anywhere close to the numbers that they're getting.
But you'll be heading in the right direction.
At least you're going up. That's where you need to go.
Far out.
Vincent, do you want to read them a synopsis, and then we'll get into this?
I'll read them the synopsis on IMDb. With Spider-Man's identity now revealed, Peter asks Doctor Strange for help. When a spell goes wrong, dangerous foes from other worlds start to appear, forcing Peter to discover what it truly means to be Spider-Man. And we're here. That's. I'm glad that you said it, Vincent. So what I want to talk about first is let's just say up top, you know, this movie's been out forever. The spoilers have been out there on the internet. But this is spoilers, obviously. We're going straight into spoilers. Yeah. Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
I mean, that's a big plot point in this movie.
That's right.
That drives the plot, the fact that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. But which one? What I really want to talk about first of all, I want to hold on to this for a bit, is the true passing of the torch from Tony Stark to Spider-Man, to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Because in many ways, this has been a torch passing event, and I'll explain to you why.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that you have thoughts on this as well.
I have a feeling of what you're going to say, but you continue.
I want to talk about the characters. Obviously, I want to talk about the villains versus the heroes in this, but I also want to talk about the relationship between Ned, MJ, and Tom Holland's in this movie, because there's things going on there. Now, one thing that I will not be getting into, Vincent. Now we're going to do the hits and the misses, but one thing that I will not be getting into is I've been seeing online a lot of heads are like, "This is a $200 million movie which has made $1.88 billion, and the green screen is quite recognisable." So heads have been saying, like, you know, because if you watch a lot of the film, it looks like there's a man standing in front of a green screen because it was done during COVID times. There's certain, it's not anything that takes you out of the movie, but there's certain scenes in which you can tell one man's in a room, and there's something behind him that is being projected or something of the sort. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that because
I didn't realize, I didn't know that at all. Like I didn't. But I never really, unless it's real obvious, it's gone right over my head.
But you're the sort of man that you'll be on a roller coaster, right? And like the next part of the roller coaster will be completely missing, but you're just in there for the thrill. You're enjoying it. You won't even realize. Like people will be screaming, and you'll be like, "Yeah, well, this is exactly what I expected people to scream."
This is what I paid my ticket for.
And I want to also get into a little bit, Vincent, about where should these movies be watched? Because you and I watch them at home in our respective houses.
Yeah.
Courtesy of Mr. Bezos. And we'll
Jeff.
get into that. Thank you, Jeff. Now, Vincent, let's talk about the passing of the torch between Tony Stark and Tom Holland very, very quickly.
Okay.
I think that. Sorry, I lagged a bit there, and I think you lagged a bit there. Like my brain lagged, and I saw you lagged as well. I think that Tony Stark has given the strength of Spider-Man and said to him, "Hey, look, this is what you do to be the best superhero out there. Make all the mistakes, and then you fix them up, and you're the hero."
I knew this is what you're going to say. I knew this is what you're going to say. Make the biggest mistake you can possible. All right, and then fix it and be like, "Hey, bro, look at this. Our problem solved."
And blame other people, especially.
Yeah.
In this case, Doctor Strange. Just be like, "Bro, I'm going against everything that you've told me.
Yeah.
Even though I'm working within a realm that I do not understand completely."
Yeah, you're the adult. You should have sorted it out.
Why are we giving this much? Like, this man's still in high school. Why are we giving this much power obviously, great power, great responsibility. You say that you're dead, like it's a dead man's wish. But why are you giving this much power and responsibility?
Because you might just get hit by a bus real quick. You might be in your living room. You say that, and a bus come through.
I was watching this with my partner last night, and there was the Aunt May scene where she gets hit by the glider.
Yeah,
and she gets pieced up by that glider.
That's right, the metaphorical bus.
And she said with great power comes great responsibility. And I looked at my girlfriend, I was like, yeah, she's dead. I didn't even have to know that she would die, but I was like, yeah. I mean, R.I.P. Like, let's get the funeral. Let's get that all sorted out now while we've just said
That's
it.
Right. Let's call up White Lady.
That to you,
let's get the process going.
If man says that to you, you best be calling up White Lady ASAP. Which, I mean, is a very local. It's not just a white lady. It's a very local funeral home.
Oh, is it? Okay. I don't know. Maybe Peter Blackwell.
Well, I mean, these are all local funeral homes. These are all like, funeral homes are like heads who, they live in the community, fair. And they're like, I'm gonna bury people, and then my family are gonna do that for generations.
Yeah, I guess it's not really like a franchise opportunity, really.
It's not a franchise opportunity, and if it was, like, that's pretty wild. Because imagine you're like a franchisee, and you're like, you know what, me, a local man from this area wants to get into the funeral business. Let me call up Peter Blackwell's and say, hey, I got this spot here. Can you like build me a space? Let's get into really quickly. You got to be a different sort of man, like to be doing funeral home things.
Yeah, I guess.
Because I mean, you and me will see a dead body fairly infrequently.
Yeah.
These people seeing like one a day. You must lose all emotion because you have people crying, spluttering. You have people saying his last words were, what's the quote?
You'll be there. You'll be like in a public space as an individual doing funeral home things, and you'll hear someone say, "With great power comes great responsibility," and you have the coffin ready. You'll be like, "Dave, bring it in."
You'll be next to the man just doing measurements, like, so he's so that's 6'1". All right, let me just get the waist. Like, that's what you'll be doing with this man.
Yeah.
But sorry, I should say, I just wanted to make sure that you were on the same page with me in regards to the Tony Stark thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because none of this movie needed to happen. It could have been stopped with a couple of words. It could have been stopped with, "Hey, look." Like there's literally one point where the reason that Peter goes to Doctor Strange to change everyone's, perception of who Peter Parker is, he goes there, and then after the whole thing, Doctor Strange says, "Oh, did you not talk to MIT?" Like, the reason he went there was because MIT didn't let them in. And he's like, "Oh man, I could have talked to MIT. Oh my goodness." And I know that's comedic.
Yeah, I get the whole,
kid.
Like he's a child, he's still like a kid, and he's still, finding his way in this world, and he'll make mistakes as he will. And look, I have more tolerance for Peter Parker making these kind of mistakes than Tony Stark, because also Peter Parker is like very sorry and very apologetic to all this, and he is, in the grand scheme of things, he's just trying to do the right thing. Tony Stark is just trying to do whatever he wants to do.
And also, Peter Parker, we root for those people who are in the struggle. Peter Parker, even though he's Spider-Man, is still not, well off.
That's right. He broke.
He's broke. He's made no money from his engagement as a superhero, but also he has no clout to build off of. Like, he can't be like, oh, in this case now, when he says, "I'm Spider-Man," people they're there with the pickets, they're picketing him.
Yeah.
They're doing all sorts of things. Again, the whole Mysterio debacle, that could also be discussed. And, you could be like, because, I mean, I don't know if Tom Holland was told this, but in the last movie, Mysterio was a head that used to work at Stark Industries.
You're right.
got
You could have
fired.
connected the dots. I mean, obviously, like, he's got accomplices. They didn't really find them. I guess kind of like man's just disappeared, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe the trail went cold.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, it still doesn't even seem like there was any trail because it was about 5 days later in which...
yeah, but also, Peter Parker had Tony Stark's facilities available to him, even after, I think. You know, he had the glasses. He still got the glasses. And at this point, you know, Jake Gyllenhaal, Mysterio, he's in the facial recognition database because Tony Stark has got that information there. He used to work for him. You think Tony Stark wasn't trying to siphon every piece of information he could from his employees?
For devious means, might I just add. We've said this before on this podcast. Iron Man is the worst of the superheroes.
Yeah.
In many ways, he's a supervillain for all he's done.
There's no arguments for that. So if you think of writing a comment down below, keep going because that helps the algorithm. So,
but also, you know, Iron Man's right. Not only is he a supervillain, but he dies in one of the movies, and everyone thinks he's a hero because of that. Man's just up and dies.
Yeah, because that's what happens when people die.
Exactly. He didn't even have to say with great power comes great responsibility before he died.
Because he didn't know that.
He said, I'm Iron Man. He didn't know that. That's true, because he has no responsibilities.
That's right.
Let's get into, Vincent, let's get into let's get into our favourite bits of this movie.
Okay.
And I specifically want to talk about...
I know you want to talk about... I think we should preface this. So we recorded a YouTube video that's up on the channel right now, you know, link to that in the description, maybe not, who knows. But, you know, Apple had already watched about 23 minutes of this movie. And you know, upon our discussions last night, he told me these, you know, does nothing for him. I could take it or leave it right now from this 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I said that.
So he was also telling me how he just wasn't in the space to be just consuming any sort of content. And when I was starting to watch this movie, I was kind of feeling the same way, you know, 20 minutes in. So
yeah, just
let's go. You know, then now we can go. I just wanted to say that for the fans at home.
Vincent's like, yeah, so what happened was Apo was he was in a drunken stupor in the first 23 minutes. Like, you just putting me on blast for a couple minutes there.
Yeah, is that all right?
I mean, that's perfectly fine because that's just what we do here.
That's what we do.
But yes, let me say, when this movie started off, I was really not enjoying this movie. There's a couple of reasons why. One, a lot of the plot was just like, it was moving along, obviously, to get to the point in which people came from the multiverse, the villains and also the heroes. But also, the dynamic between all the heads just felt cold.
Yeah, I thought that the characters seemed to be... I think Tom Holland was fine and Peter Parker as the character was fine. But I think, almost Ned was a bit like it felt like a bit of a B movie. And I'm not talking B movie with Jerry Seinfeld. I'm talking a B movie as in ABC movie.
Because B movies in A+ is what we're trying to say.
That's right.
But you're saying that this is B grade, a B grade movie.
Yeah. It just seemed there was a bit of that. Seemed like the acting was a bit, I don't know, it just seemed not so genuine or something. I don't know.
It seemed like they needed to warm into that for some reason, even though I know movies aren't filmed chronologically. And usually the bigger things are filmed early on because it's like, this is when we can get all the heads, let's just do it now. This is where we've got all the money, let's make sure the big spectacle's all done. And then we'll get into those other scenes where we only need 2-3 heads. So movies aren't filmed chronologically, and some are, but most of them aren't. So I'm sure it wasn't that these characters were actually warming up to each other. But I do feel that as the movie progressed, they seemed more like their usual selves.
Yeah.
And I think MJ, as it started to progress, became a really good character as well, as she's always been. But like, Zendaya's a good actor. You gotta have her doing good acting things, and she did towards the end. But just the start, she wasn't given much.
Yeah.
I think that this rode a lot on the fact that there was going to be fat cameos in it. And I'm talking about out like there's cameos left, right, and center.
Oh, out the wazoo.
And I'm a man that likes a cameo. I'm a man that enjoys it. I guess in moderation, I enjoy it. I don't want a whole movie based on cameos, but if you give me one, I'm not going to be upset about it because it's like, oh, cool. Jamie Foxx looks like regular Jamie Foxx. He doesn't look like that goofy individual.
I love how he makes the point of saying like, bro, my teeth are all messed up. Like I had glasses. Like, look at this dope fade now. That's what he said. Did he just get that upon reaching this new universe? It was like he passed through the dimensions, and his barber pieced him up on the way through.
But that's the thing. He's the only one that's different.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
As in, like how he looks. Well, from the last movie, he was pure electricity. He wasn't actually like a human man.
I know that he became that, and maybe that's like him as a human version of that. Is that what we're trying to say here?
Yeah, the electricity gave him the fade, maybe.
I mean, that would spark you up, like, and the goatee, and the fact that he looks like Jamie Foxx, who's built. Man's is filming to be Mike Tyson, so he's built pretty well. I feel that they almost just put Jamie. They were just like, Jamie, we need you on set right now. Just come as you are. And Jamie Foxx came on set. They didn't even give him a script. They just said, "Is you from the Amazing Spider-Man movie, but you look better. Just play with that. Play with that." Because all of his lines were literally fourth wall breaking almost.
Yeah.
And they were all pretty funny. He was obviously the comedic relief out of the bunch of the villains, but even those villains, let me not jump into that very quickly. Let me not jump into that just yet. Let's talk about the individual villains first before I jump into what I was going to say about the villains as a whole. Which man's was your favorite out of the bunch?
I reckon Doc Ock.
Yeah.
I reckon Doc Ock was my favorite. I mean, he is just a cool villain.
He is. And Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, I mean, that's classic. I know that you don't like Spider-Man 2 anymore.
I used to until I rewatched it.
I think that it's a great movie. I think that's a great movie even upon rewatch. I really like the Green Goblin. I think he was the best of the villains in this one.
Yeah. Well, he was the main guy, really.
He was the main guy, but also he was the one that gave it everything.
Yeah. Dude, back at the end when he's got like the hoodie and it's kind of torn and he's looking like a post-apocalyptic Green Goblin, that was wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was wild.
I would have loved if they had a mask on his face. I know that, in many ways, Willem Dafoe can just be a goblin with his own face. He's a very good actor and uses his face to portray a bunch of emotions, but can also portray a very scary face.
Yeah.
I wish that they put a mask on him. Like a goblin mask.
Why is that?
Just because I think, we got the hoodie, we got the, that more classic look from the comics, but then his face is Willem Dafoe with goggles.
No, I reckon that was better. Better.
You agree? You agree with the filmmakers of this?
Yeah, I agree because it also showed the internal struggle between his Norman Osborn and the Green Goblin.
How, Sway?
Trying to make
what do you mean it showed the internal struggle?
I reckon just look cool.
I knew that you were spouting garbage. I could smell it from over here. That's the garbage. That's how much it was. It was like the garbage that's floating out there in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was cool.
What are your thoughts on the motorbike style helmet version of the Green Goblin? His classic Spider-Man 1 look.
As in the one that he smashed?
The one that he smashed at the start of the movie.
It's
but the
cool.
one that he wears. Yeah. A lot of people obviously don't like it because it's not comic accurate. Like a lot of people who actually read the comics before they watched them. Me and you were kids when those Spider-Man movies came out, so we hadn't read the comics. And let me tell you, I love that suit even to this day.
It is a cool suit.
Even now that I've read some Spider-Man comics, I still love that Green Goblin suit with the motorbike style helmet.
Yeah.
It's just cool looking.
I think out of all the villains, I didn't like Sandman. He just, I don't know. He just seemed like it was almost like the man's he wasn't in it. He just was there for the paycheck. It just felt like his voice was so unenthusiastic about anything. Like, I want to go home to see my daughter.
Yeah, he did not get much, but also his whole plot line was obviously, I want to go home and see my daughter. That's what he's doing in the third Spider-Man of the Toby Maguire series. But the issue with this man is at the start he's like, hey, Spidey, like, let's be mates. And then Electro says he's not going to do good things for us. And the man's is like, hey, I got to go home see my daughter. I'm a villain now.
Like
that was his plot
immediately
line.
after he cures Doc Ock of his, spina bifida.
Yeah. Yeah.
Immediately after. You've seen the results.
You've seen the positivity of it.
That's right. Also, I love how Doc Ock just absolutely like skirts the hell out of there as soon as everything starts going up in flames. I mean, it's could have helped. Dude just left.
I mean, he could have helped. He could have helped. That very much smells of Alfred Molina had to go, man. He had some private function, so he had to like bounce out of here.
Yeah, because he didn't rock up until the end. He rocked up until at the end, and it was like, well, you've just been cured by Spider-Man. Can you give him a hand, maybe?
And like, you rocked up late as well. The don't even worry about talking about the lizard. I mean, he was funny at points, and he was funny looking. But yeah, the only cool thing about, I mean, really the two major villains are Doc Ock and Green Goblin. The only cool thing about Electro was when he was shooting electricity in the final battle, he had the classic Electro.
Yeah, that was cool.
That lightning look on his head.
Yeah.
I mean, that was very cool. The great thing was when they brought all the villains together and they were in those little capsules.
Yeah.
And they were talking about, how they're going to turn them into good people before sending them back so they didn't die. And Norman Osborn goes, I'm something of a scientist myself.
See that? Like, I laughed at that because that's hilarious. And that's meme content as well. And we're men of meme culture, see our
that's
last
culture.
video.
That is culture.
But at the same time, I was like, did they need to put that in there?
Yeah, but it was so good because it was a throwaway line.
That's true.
It literally happened and then it went to the next thing.
Yeah, I was a bit in two minds whether I thought that was good or not. Because I laughed and I was like, yeah, this is absolute quality. But then I was like, they just did that for us, They just did that for the fans. But I guess they're doing the things for the fans.
Yeah,
because that's how they make $1.88 billion.
And I mean, some of that money is from us because we paid Bezos as well.
That's right.
But those nods of the hat to the fans, the milady sort of nods, those are good, I think. But this is a movie that relied too much on it, and then you lose those little cool ones like that.
Yeah,
not that they're cool, but they're hilarious.
The whole thing was there were three movies, two from the past, that come together in this one movie.
Mm-hmm. What it made me think about having all those villains together is, one, obviously they were doing. They were sniffing into the realm of the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
Not that. How many of them were there? Was there only 5 of them?
Lizard, Electro, Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Sandman. 5.
They didn't even do Sinister Six.
Sinister Six minus 1.
Did we miss something?
Lizard, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Electro, Sandman. Oh, there's 5. That's it.
Did they get into film when they were at the last battle? They're like, oh man, look at this shot. They had the whole Sinister Six in there. Wait, hold on a second. 1, 2.
Oh man.
They're like, that's a wrap. Sinister Six.
Oh
man.
Someone got fired for that. 100%.
I think that this movie there was good elements to it.
Oh no, there was a Sinister Six.
From a villain perspective.
There was a Sinister Six. A man's just got dropped in Mexico instead of New York.
Oh, Venom.
Yeah.
But like, what? That was stupid. He should have been there, and then, because what now? Now I'm assuming Tom Holland is going to go to Mexico.
Well, I don't know. That's symbiote. That's going to go somewhere because he left it on the bar.
He left it on the bar. Yeah. That's anyway. I'm not going to get into that because that's a bit silly. But you're right. There is a Sinister Six there. I think that it fell down because of those villains at times. If it was just Green Goblin and Doc Ock, you got yourself a movie there. You didn't even need the other three heads, and you could reestablish Doc Ock and Green Goblin in this space and be like, oh, there's others out there. Next movie is going to be a proper Sinister Six movie.
Yeah, the whole motivation of Spider-Man's not going to do good things for us. Let's just stay here and wreak havoc. Like they switched immediately.
Yeah. They did switch immediately, but also, and it wasn't that they switched, but like their reasoning for it was not good at all.
Mm.
And it was very much.
You could tell Electro was like on the fence already.
Yeah, from the start.
So I understand maybe him, but like Sandman, I guess Lizard, like he was just doing whatever.
I mean, they just put him in a truck at one point for about 45 minutes of this movie. Let's get into the two big cameos, which a lot of people were hyped up about, which in many ways we all knew was happening because everyone had that was all that was being talked about for months in the lead up.
Yeah, see, I didn't know either of them were going to be in the movie, but having seen the trailer, I assumed Toby Maguire was going to be in it. I didn't know Andrew Garfield was going to be there.
Right.
So that was news to me.
This is the issue with our generation of movie goers, isn't it, at the moment? We're all longing for movies that a lot of us want so much before the movie even comes out. I don't know why it happens. I understand that it's to build hype, but why does a movie studio sit there and be like, we're going to release 6 different trailers, and in this trailer you can actually see that head over there, but he's in the background. Yeah. And then someone like Mr. Sunday Movies, who breaks down trailers, goes, as Andrew Garfield's in the background.
Yeah. Was he in one of the trailers? As
Eddie Maguire, he's in the background. No, he's not. But what I'm saying is you get so much before you even go into a movie.
Yeah, no, I don't like that.
And then people come out the movie, they go straight on their TikToks and their Instagrams, and they post photos of what they saw.
And they're like, bro, I knew all this. Well, yeah, no, you're not a rocket. It's not rocket science. This was in the trailers.
But also, who wants that? Because those Twitter threads are always full of people commenting before and after the movie.
Because people want like content all the time, every day of the week, every minute of the day.
It's a sickness.
It's a sickness, but we don't have time or the capabilities to go over that on this podcast.
That's true. So let's talk about Andrew Garfield and Toby Maguire.
Okay.
Let's talk about them.
I'll tell you right now what I liked and didn't like. I liked them in the movie. I thought they were a good addition to the movie.
Yeah.
I liked Toby Maguire much better as older Spider-Man than in the original Spider-Man. He is a Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
But not as teenager in Spider-Man 1 and I don't know, maybe 2. Like, he wasn't, that was the issue. Andrew Garfield, again, not a teenager Spider-Man, but he's like a mid-20s kind of Spider-Man. So you've kind of, and I think that was kind of the idea here is Toby Maguire, like Mans was aging. You know, he was probably 30, 40s-ish. Andrew Garfield, mid-20s, late 20s maybe. And you could see that they had a bit more experience than Spider-Man when, in actual fact, you know, from the movies that we've seen, they've actually had less experience.
Yeah, that's right.
Their resumes aren't quite as fully featured. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like they in the movies that we've seen, they haven't run through the rogues gallery of Spider-Man villains that they have now.
No, that's right. But also, they talked about the villains, They are all the villains that they fought. So I don't know what Toby Maguire was doing after that.
Yeah, were they just fighting like general crime?
They were just doing general crime.
I think the dynamic between the three of them worked really well.
Yeah.
I think that they acted well together, but also just the idea, as you said, of having an older, wiser ones who have also lived through things and experienced stuff and been like, hey, we know that this path never leads to like nice things. It's not a positive life that we live.
Yeah. That's what I liked a lot.
From the comic that we've read in full, which is Spider-Man Life Story.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. The Spider-Man's never happy.
Bro, that is one of the saddest comics I've ever read.
And it's because even though this man is the hero of the world, he loses everything that he loves in the process.
Yeah.
Literally, till he dies.
Which that kind of gave me that. This movie gave me that impression. For specifically Tom Holland as Peter Parker.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, man's lost a lot in this film, and yeah. And so the other thing that I didn't really like was when they were in the science lab and they were like, well, let's get to work. And it was just like them doing science things. And they were just, we've made cures for all of them. We've done it.
Well, it makes sense that one of them was able to do it. It makes sense that, what's his name was able to do, Andrew Garfield was able to do the lizard thing because he had made that before.
Yeah.
Toby Maguire, he said he had seen some things before.
The man's was dead. Green Goblin was dead.
He was dead, yeah.
Peter Parker,
yeah, it was
Tom Holland worked out Doc Ock.
Yeah.
He actually worked it out.
He did the equations.
Yeah.
He did
but that was because like they had the fabricator thing, so they were looking at that and they were doing the other heads. So I understand Electro as well because they had the other heads. But the Green Goblin, they just like, well, okay, we've just this fabricator thing. You can make anything, but we can also work out everything. It was just too easy for me.
But that's what happened after. As soon as they came into it, as soon as those two came into it, there was comedic relief, and then it was the end of the movie. They just rushed through that last bit.
Yeah.
Why not build them up a bit better, like what they do in? And I know that they couldn't just do Miles Morales, the Into the Spider-Verse, but Into the Spider-Verse at least they built a rapport. Or at least Miles and when Peter B. Parker built a rapport before they actually fought the final villain.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, they're just like, "Hey, we're all Spider-Man."
That's right. That's what
where
they needed.
Where does your web come from? I mean, that's hilarious that they asked where it comes from, and they asked if it comes from anywhere else other than his wrist. But yeah, it sort of just jumped. I think that if you went into the cinemas and you saw this and all these cameos happened and you weren't aware of these things happening, with the reactions of the crowd, I think that this movie would give you a lot of that hype and a lot of that excitement.
Yeah. See, I mean...
It's much harder to watch from home.
You reckon?
I mean, in my case, it was one.
Is that because you knew
one because
prior?
I knew. I mean, we all knew, really. Like, once you see that first trailer and you see Doc Ock, you see, you hear the Green Goblin laugh. That's the only trailer that I watched. But you know from there that there's going to be heads coming in.
Yeah.
And you know that that Into the Spider-Verse was successful. So you're thinking, well, I'm thinking that they're going to bring in Spider-Man heads. I was hoping maybe they'd throw in a Miles Morales as a bit of a here you go.
Yeah.
But I think Miles Morales is within the Tom Holland universe. I don't know. He could be in all of them. I think that it suffered a bit doing the home viewing.
I don't think that was something that actually affected it. I just think that this, I mean, I've said this before on this podcast, and Apo, you know this very well. Superhero movies, when there's a good one, I get like you get the rush. You get that, you know, like you feel like a superhero after watching it. This movie did not give me that. This movie did not give me that at all. And I'm going to be honest, most of the movie was it was fine. It was absolutely fine for me. You know, I enjoyed it, but like I could take it or leave it. And I was excited for this movie. I was very excited because I love Tom Holland as Peter Parker, and I had recently just watched Far From Home last week. And I'll say that, yeah, majority of this movie was fine, but the ending 100% top tier, that got me.
The ending. Give me that. What ending?
The ending, how like Peter Parker had to
with Zendaya
get everyone to forget about
and Ned.
Yeah, dude, that was what I thought was going to happen. You continue. I got that after.
No, I was just going to say that was only good once he did that final meeting with Zendaya, right?
Yeah.
I think that part was fantastic because now you've moved into what Peter Parker is and who he is. A superhero who just does superhero things. And he tries to live his life, tries to pay for his rent, tries to, work at Daily Bugle, which how funny would that be if in the next movie he's working at the Daily Bugle?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you have to go. But he's a lonely man. And even though that's not a nice thing to see, because you're like, oh, what, we don't want our superheroes to be lonely. It's who that character is. Even though he's lonely, he's still out there doing good for the community.
Yeah, we don't want our superheroes being lonely.
Their superheroes. Don't worry about their superheroes.
Don't worry about their superheroes. But yeah, no, the ending, bro, that just got me because you think about it. No one knows who he is now. He's essentially starting from scratch.
Yeah,
like that's rough. Like even him at the grave with Aunt May and Happy's there, and he's like, "How did you know her?" And having just watched Far From Home. And seeing the relationship that he had with Happy, with also Zendaya, and obviously the one with Ned, like it's sad. He's got that little Star Wars minifigure on his table there, bro. That got me. And in the coffee shop, far out.
I mean, is the Star Wars minifigure that was given to him by Zendaya? Is that why you're telling me that?
No, that was when in the first movie when Peter and Ned made the Death Star.
Oh.
They made the Lego Death Star.
And they have that and they put that's a piece that they show?
I don't know. It's part of it, yeah. They do something.
Well, I'll take that or leave that. I'll slap that out the window if I saw it. That has nothing for me.
See, that's you have no sentimentality. That's absolutely disrespectful.
I don't, man. This is the thing. Being sentimental means you're a hoarder. That's what happens. As soon as you start being sentimental for things, your garage starts filling up with stuff.
And you haven't got the garage space. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I mean, no one's got the space. We haven't got the space on this planet. Like, we're building up at this point and you're being sentimental. You know what I mean? We're having to build up in the sky and you're being sentimental. Elon Musk is talking about we need to populate Mars and you're being sentimental.
That's
there's no space for that.
I can have my garage on Mars.
I think that you're right, Vincent. This movie really fell off for a lot of it. And then the ending, the fight scene at the end was...
I did like the fight scene. I did actually like the fight scene, but it was just a fine fight scene. I just didn't get the the Peter Parker, he's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's down and out, but like he's come back and he's overcome more obstacles. And maybe it was because, it was his fault and it was a bit of a dump, but I don't think it was that. I think it just lacked that superhero quality that I want from so many superhero movies, and I get from so many superhero movies. There's not many that don't give me that feeling.
Okay, but just very quickly, and that's fair enough, and I agree with you because you didn't walk out there feeling like you wanted to, swing. You weren't swinging out there,
No.
You weren't wanting to be a vigilante and fighting crime.
No, that's
right.
How you feel. But last week when I watched Far From Home, bro, I was out there swinging.
Yeah, of course. Here's the thing that I want to add, though. What happened in the last little bit of that movie in the fight scene?
What happened?
Tell me the cool things that happened.
The cool thing, I mean, Electro doing Electro things. That was wild.
Electro doing Electro things.
I like the teamwork. I also thought that there were a lot of... Yeah. So
what was the teamwork?
So, yeah, that's another thing.
I'll let you finish.
There are a lot of little bits in this movie where you're like, that doesn't really, it's like a... I don't know how you put it. It was just... too perfect or something. For example, they're out there, they're swinging, they're hitting web shooters at each other, and they come in, they're like, huddle. All right, we've got to be a team. I've been in a team before, the Avengers. All right, that's beside the point. We've just got to be a team. We've got to work together. And then they were like, yeah, bro, we're the what's it called, like the Italy national team versus whoever in the Euro 2020. Oh, they're just doing teamwork things. That's the only sports reference I could come up with, but like straight away. And all they said was, we've got to be a team or something like that.
Yeah, but then even when they were a team, they weren't really doing anything. It was just like, oh, I'm captured. Let me throw you this. Oh, you're here. I'll throw you that. There was nothing that they did where it was like, if one man like kicked someone up and the other man like spider swung through him and just kicked his head into dust, and then someone else did something. I think that they lost me at that final battle because I if I look back on battle scenes through movies, I look at the Wakanda fight scene in Infinity War, right? I look at Captain America versus Iron Man in Civil War. I look at pretty much any fight with Bucky because he's just doing he's brutalizing folk. Give me some more examples, Vincent.
I don't know. Just what do you mean?
Let me just go with those three examples. Or the point that I'm trying to prove is those three fight scenes that I could mention. They had things that I'm like, I think back on. I'm like, oh, dude, my heart rate's increasing now.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Whereas this one, it was just dust in the air and electricity.
Yeah.
Look,
I'll be honest with you, Vincent. There wasn't ever either any times where they were like on the ropes. Like Green Goblin came in and they pieced him up straight away.
And one man got stabbed, but he was like, hey, I've been stabbed before.
That's right.
And also the fact that was a thing in this movie where it was like, Toby Maguire was like, no, Peter, don't do this. And then Toby Maguire's standing there like, hey, it's all positive now. We're all positive. And then he's like, oh, I've been stabbed from the back. Who didn't see that coming? But also, who cares at this point? Mans is going to go back into his timeline. If Toby Maguire died in this movie, it would do nothing for me because they haven't built a relationship in this space.
Yeah.
If Toby Maguire died in the 3 Spider-Man movies that they made, that's a different story. But not in the Tom Holland universe.
Yeah, I agree with you there. There needed to be some more rapport building between the 3 Spider-Men.
I think all the 3 Spider-Men were great. I think that Doc Ock and Green Goblin were great, but they were all separately great. They weren't like Italy in the 2020 Euro. They were not a champion team. They were a team of champions. And I mean, with great power comes, like that. That's where we're at now. All right, let's do what we think of this movie, whether it's worth it or not. And then I'm just
trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, also like hilarious. Ned was 100% just the third wheel for the whole movie.
Yeah, I mean, they just had to give him that thing so he would do something.
Yeah, I feel like what happened was the first movie, it was Ned and Peter, and they were the team. And then in Far From Home, Ned was kind of out of it a little bit more, but he was doing his own thing. But here
he's doing the girlfriend thing.
That's right. But here they've got Ned in the movie, but Zendaya is really the number one for Peter. Like they're the team now. Yeah. Ned's been benched. Like he's been benched.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yeah, I feel like that dynamic, I don't know, maybe it could have worked, but I feel like there were so many little awkward moments which were not like comedic awkward moments, but they just felt awkward.
Like they didn't seem like they were friends.
Yeah. Also, another hilarious moment before we sign off, when Peter is fighting Doctor Strange in the mirror dimension.
Yeah.
And he's just like, bro, this is maths. Pi squared, carry the 1, drop the 2, or this is a derivative. And he's just like, oh, here we go. I've beaten you. I've beaten you in your own game.
Yeah, math beats science. That was hilarious. That was pretty funny.
That was funny, but like a little bit cringe funny because you didn't need have him actually doing, like saying
Like doing arithmetics.
carry the 3, drop the 2. He could have just done.
Like he's flicking them things along, whatever those things. He's on the abacus and he's just flicking
He's on
things.
the abacus.
Yeah, the part where he gets hit out of his body, I'm assuming, is that the Spidey sense or is that the Iron Man suit that's like stopping him from?
I would
the
say
box from being
maybe
taken from
it's the spider sense. Maybe it wouldn't be the Iron Man suit. I don't think.
Yeah. Actually, wait, before we head off, one real
Right.
cool scene was when Peter had that massive spider sense in the apartment.
Yeah, that
when
was
he realized the Green Goblin was
and
that
he,
was
when
cool.
he was trying to work out who it was.
That was
Man's
the
got a
best
house full
use
of villains.
Oh yeah, that was the best use of spider sense that I think we've seen.
Yeah, it was.
That was amazing.
Yeah,
Because
and-
it threw him completely out, and he was trying to figure out what's going on, and you could see Aunt May was like, "Okay, something's about to go down."
Yeah. Also, bro, Matt Murdock in this movie.
Oh yeah, dude, I
That
forgot
was
about
wild.
Matt Murdock
That
in
was
this movie.
wild. And
that
he
was very
catches
cool.
the thing. Nah, come on.
But like, you got Matt Murdock, you best put him in a movie. He deserves to be in a movie.
He is a top tier Daredevil, and that is a top tier TV show.
Yes, and that's the best of the bunch, really.
That is,
Out of
that's
all
absolutely.
those ones,
Punisher was pretty good as well.
Punisher was.
I thought.
I don't think I've watched Punisher, to be honest.
Punisher, I thought Punisher was good, but definitely Daredevil was the.
I really like
standout.
Luke Cage season 1, but I don't think that head's like
Yeah,
that.
Luke Cage, it was fine. Jessica Jones, not that good. Iron Fist was top tier trash.
Yeah,
Defenders was,
but
anyway, that's
Daredevil was good.
That's whatever. Daredevil was killer.
Vincent,
the last thing
is this movie worth
the last
it?
thing. No,
oh, yeah,
listen to
sorry,
me.
yeah.
Listen to me. Another thing that got me when MJ fell off the scaffolding, and Tom Holland went to go get her, and he couldn't get her, and then Andrew Garfield went there, and he caught her. Bro, that one hit me in the heartstrings.
Can I tell you what threw me out of that?
What?
There's one thing that threw me out of that, right? So when Zendaya's fallen and Tom Holland jumps down and he's about to get her and he gets hit by the glider, she goes like this. And she like looks like follows him like with her whole head.
I mean,
And when I saw that in slow motion, I was like, I mean, I know that's what you would do. You'd look towards the thing that's
just
being
pulled
taken
you out
away
of it,
that's
though.
about to save you. But I was just like, that's too funny. Because they had her in slow motion with the slight head turn across. And then, yes, she does get saved, which I mean is great. And I mean, that scene from Amazing Spider-Man 2 is brutal.
that's right.
That is a brutal scene. That's you know what, Amazing Spider-Man, they're good. At least the first one is good. The second one's okay in parts.
I enjoyed the second one as well. I really enjoyed the second one.
Let me tell you one thing, Vincent. Well, let's get into whether this is worth it. This is definitely not the best Spider-Man movie there is.
Yeah, it's a real shame.
This is definitely not a 93% on the Rotten Tomatoes.
I can't believe it's so high.
Yeah, that's wild to me.
I reckon people
Is it-
just saw Toby Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland, and they just put a tick on it.
I think if you watch this in the cinemas as well, it would be a different story.
You reckon? Why do you think?
I reckon heads would, because there's atmosphere there, and everyone would be excited. And it's early days. Now we've been amongst it. We've had all the hype die down from Spider-Man No Way Home. Now it's all the Batman hype.
Yeah. See, I mean, I'm not really on the social media, so that hype hasn't really affected me that much. I wouldn't say.
Yeah, but even in the streets, I mean, you don't go in the streets, but in the streets, there's heads that are like, they're not talking about Spider-Man anymore.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I don't interact with heads.
They're
So
talking
I'm
about
saying
Batman.
Well, I'm talking about no mains.
You're not even talking about the East Atlanta Santa.
I'm not even talking about the East Atlanta Santa. No, but 100%. I reckon this is fine. I mean, maybe if you're privy to all the hype. But I
If
think
it was free.
if it was free, you'd take it. Yeah, you'd take it. I mean, I'm going to give this movie another watch because I've been on a bit of a rereading kick at the moment where I felt like I've got more out of the content after the content, the media or whatever, or what have you, after I've watched it twice. So I reckon I'm going to give it another shot in maybe a week or so and see how we go.
I think that's a good idea, Vincent. I got people at the house now. They're making noise, so I reckon this is a good time to cut it off. Hey, Vincent, we forgot to tell them to like and subscribe up top, man.
Let's just end it here, bro.
Just end the video, man.
Just end the video. That's it.